Now, if you hop on Fujifilm's website and look at the lineup of ultra-wide lenses that they have, 3 might catch your eye. The first is the 8mm f3.5, which I did talk about on this channel right here. The other is the 14mm f2.8 prime. And thirdly is the 8-16 f2.8 zoom lens. Now, don't get me wrong here, Fujifilm's ultra-wide lineup is pretty good, and I personally do own the 8mm f3.5. But when you take these lenses separately and look at them, you can find certain flaws in them. For example, the 8mm is probably too wide for you. Also, it only goes to f3.5. So if you want to do some night photography, that is kind of out of the question. You can also argue that the 8-16 f2.8 zoom lens would be a great lens for vlogging and capturing video. But it is a pretty heavy lens, and it's not easy to put on ND filters or any type of filters on that lens. And your third choice is the 14mm f2.8, which would probably be the best option for you. But again, f2.8 is probably not enough for you if you want to shoot at night. So what do you do in this case? This is the 13mm F1.4 by VILTROX. Now, if you don't have this lens in your kit, then you are probably missing out. Personally, I love this lens and it has saved me several times, and I will talk about how it saved me several times before. So let's start first by discussing the build quality of this lens. This lens has a metal mount and it honestly has a premium feel. It also does have a large focus ring, which makes it super easy to handle and rotate. And the aperture ring is clicky and sturdy, and it acts like a Fujifilm aperture ring, which means handling will be very similar to a Fujifilm XF lens. Another thing that I love about the build quality of this lens is probably its size. This is not really a big lens. It's pretty small, it is compact, not too compact, but more compact than other Fujifilm lenses, and it can easily go in your bag. But I know what you're going to say, it is a third-party lens, and how does the autofocus perform? I have had zero issues with autofocus. This lens tracks like a premium XF lens. The subject detection was great, the eye tracking was great. I never had any issues with autofocusing, and it is a very quiet lens. When it does autofocus, it acts like a linear motor lens, and you can barely hear any focusing. I would probably say that this is on par with the autofocus of XF lenses. Now, before I jump into how this lens actually saved me, I do want to mention a couple things that I do not like about this lens. Number one, it is not weather sealed. So if you do want to go out at night and shoot when it's raining or shoot in the snow, then this is probably not the lens for you. Another thing is that this lens has no stabilization, so you will probably have a hard time getting sharper photos at lower shutter speeds. And the final pet peeve of mine, which is not really a big deal, it is the thread size of this lens. This lens has a 67mm thread size, and obviously if you have an ND filter of a larger size, you will have to use a step down ring. But let's jump into the use cases of this lens. How did I personally use this lens, and how did it save me several times? Number one, concert photography. Believe it or not, I have used this lens twice in concerts so far, and it has saved me both times. Having the ability to go down to an f1.4 aperture in a dark area or a dark venue makes it way easier to capture better photos. Dropping to an f1.4 means you don't have to lower your shutter speeds, which means you can capture all the action at the concert. Also, if the venue is pretty large, you can probably go into one of the corners and take a photo of the entire venue with the crowd. And this just means you can capture more emotion, more of the ambience, more of the concert. Now, if you are shooting at a concert and you are in the pit or in the front area next to the stage, this means you can shoot upwards towards the band members and take photos from below, which gives them a sense of grandeur or makes them larger than life. This lens is also wide enough that if you get to your right spots, you can capture both the band and the crowd at the same time. Images have always been sharp with this lens, and I barely see any distortion in any of these photos. And now number two, this lens absolutely kills it when it comes to astrophotography. This lens is absolutely perfect for astro. Having a 13mm focal length, which is equivalent to 18mm in full frame, and having the f1.4 means you can get sharper astrophotography images, and this means you don't have to increase your ISO to capture those stars. I have personally used this lens for astrophotography here in Canada and back home in Lebanon, and I've had no issues. If anything, I've captured some of the best photos I have taken. The third and final way how this lens is really helping me is pretty much by vlogging. Having a 13mm focal length, which is an 18, means vlogging becomes much easier on my X-H2S. Because I mostly film with my 16-55, which is pretty heavy, having a 13mm light lens makes vlogging very easy. I can basically hold my camera and just vlog without having any issues. Now, obviously, if you're shooting during the day and you want to maintain your shutter speed, you probably need an ND filter. And this is why I said before that you have to put on a step down ring if you are using a 77mm ND filter. And if you do live in a small apartment like I do, having an ultra wide lens could be great for your vlogging, which makes it seem like you have a bigger space than it really is. This lens costs around 575 Canadian dollars on Amazon, and for the price that you're paying, that is actually insane. There is a lot you can do with an ultra wide lens, especially an f1.4 prime. So I wouldn't be surprised if more people start to take notice on this lens and have it in their kit. Now, should you buy this lens? Well, it depends. If you're a person who loves ultra wide photography, then I definitely recommend you get this lens. If you're a person who shoots ultra wide photography at night, then definitely get this lens, as it is an f1.4. If you're a person who does concert photography with Fujifilm cameras, definitely get this lens. Don't even think twice about it. If you're a person who loves astrophotography and does astrophotography throughout the year, also you need to have this lens. And finally, if you're a person who likes to vlog with Fujifilm cameras and needs something that is easy to hold and is not too heavy, is also a prime and also lightweight, then also this lens could be great for you. Yeah, that is it for this video. A small, short, quick video about the VILTROX 13mm F1.4. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to, like the video if you want, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.